the role of UNESCO goes beyond awareness raising. You may be, I'm not sure if you're aware, that one of the roles of UNESCO is also to advise on policy. So we're very much involved in policy advice, but also standard setting. And when I talk of standard setting, I mean that we develop guidelines, but we also serve as a platform for international dialogue. So in the area of digital libraries, open access, or anything that is related to sharing of information and knowledge, UNESCO is a place where international dialogue can take place. So it goes beyond awareness raising. It also goes into advocacy, standard setting, and if you go through our website, you'll see we have so many publications, guidelines in the area of not only open access, but also internet governance and many other things. So let me first clarify on that aspect. First, the world is moving very much towards mobile access to information, mobile communication. The world of yesterday was a world where people would sit behind a computer, behind a laptop and access information. Now we are talking of the world where people use their mobile phones, their tablet computers. We call that mobile, but it wasn't really mobile. Now we are moving to a really mobile world where you will actually rely on voice communication. So your smart speaker at home will be the device which you use to browse the internet, and you listen. For instance, you search for a particular information, and you will listen, basically. And this will democratize access to information and knowledge, because even people living with disability, it will be very easy for them to access information, just to give you one example. And it will really open up avenues for lifelong learning, because even the old, people who cannot read, whose eyesight is already deteriorated, will be able to speak, and it will be ubiquitous everywhere. You're in the kitchen, your refrigerator has got a screen, and you listen. You're in the living room, it will happen. You're in the vehicle driving, it will happen. And now the biggest learning, and maybe looking forward, I really look forward and wish that the National Digital Library will go towards that direction. And I think it's high time now that the National Digital Library starts to set strategies to move towards that direction. And if we get to that direction, I think it will be possible to democratize access to information and knowledge. And of course, there are other aspects as well on intellectual property rights, which is still a debate going on all over the world. And I'm not sure we'll have the answers very soon, or solutions. But India could set up an example on intellectual property rights by reviewing its policies, so that, as you've heard, India constitutes 1/5 of the global population. And if India goes towards that direction, as a nation, I can assume 1/5 of the knowledge will be democratized. So in a nutshell, that's what I can say about democratizing knowledge. I can say impressive, but there's still quite a lot of room for improvement. It's a very good start, but there are areas which can be improved. Let me give you an example. For instance, one of the areas, we've just talked about mobile, and going beyond just mobile to voice, the integration of artificial intelligence, which we've just somehow talked about. Multilingual aspects of the platform. If we could have more multilingualism, built into the platform. For instance, I would expect maybe in the near future, the NDL to be able to recognize even local languages, local scripts. For instance, you scan a document, it's automatically recognized, automatic interpretation and the translation as well. So OCR technologies and all of that. So that could be, those are some of the areas where the NDL could be improved. But going back to what I said earlier about artificial intelligence, really the world where we're moving, I mean, now we have Cortana, for instance, we have all these Alexas and everything. I wish the NDL will one day bring a Cortana version of digital libraries. So everybody in the world who wants really to access digital library will have some sort of a digital assistant to help them. So I think, you know, those are areas of improvement. I know it looks fictitious, but in reality, things are moving very fast, and we have to start thinking about that today. I do believe whatever nation that has got people with knowledge is not poor. Poverty is not in the GDP indicators only. Of course, at the moment, that's how we count poverty in the world. But if you have a very high GDP but you don't have knowledge, your GDP is useless, and you lose your richness or your whatever. And India has got so much potential. I mean, look at the software industry. Look at the most successful technologies which have come from India. India is not poor, I can assure you. It's only poor in the terms of the indicators which are used to measure the economy. India is very rich. Look at the population dividend. India is richer than even countries like Japan, because countries like Japan are now struggling with the aging population. India doesn't have such a problem. So to start with, India is very rich because it has a population dividend, it has the knowledge, it has people who have the capacity to move the nation forward. So it's just a matter of putting things together to move forward. So that's my response on that first aspect. Now, coming back to proliferation of scientific knowledge, what I would say is, based on the knowledge that India has, and to give you an example, India has managed to send satellites, hundreds of satellites for the first time ever in the world, but at a very small budget. I don't think India can fail to introduce digital assistants in all the, let's say, radio sets. You know, we are moving to digital radio. It will be possible. Radio will be IP-based. So it's just a matter of having a will to do it, and it will be done. And I'm sure with the current good policies, you know, of moving towards digitalization in India, I think that will be possible. I know India is moving towards fiber, spreading fiber optic cables. India is putting up very good policies in the area of internet access and everything. That is possible. Now, coming up to the collaboration with UNESCO. We at UNESCO, we have one competitive advantage of having a global reach. Our network spans throughout the whole world. And we have reach up to as remotest parts of the world. Just to give you an example, we have offices as far as Africa, Asia, and many other parts of the world. And for that, we bring some experiences from all these other parts of the world. I can give you an example. For instance, even me personally, in my previous work, I've been involved in setting up community multimedia centers in the very remote parts of the world. People who did not have radio, people who did not have access to newspaper, nothing. And we did set up community multimedia centers. And here I am in India, carrying up all the experiences and knowledge of developing these community multimedia centers. So NDL can tap the experiences of UNESCO. And through our experiences and through our joint collaboration, we can spread that knowledge to the most remote parts of the world. But again, I know NGL is focused very much on India. But I wish one day NGL will also extend its hand to the rest of the world. And I hope India will extend its hand to the rest of the world. India has been part of the world and has been contributing so much to the rest of the world. To give you an example, India contributed to the liberation of Africa, Southern Africa, so much. The non-aligned movement, India was at the forefront. Why can't India be at the forefront in the dissemination of knowledge and information? And for that, of course, we have to focus on to India first, but I would look forward in the future for this platform or even this template and the experiences gained in India to be shared with the rest of the world.